Welcome to the worst nightmare of all. Reality.
Explore the lesser-known stories of our unknown world. Join the pursuit of the paranormal with Ash and Greg.
Good evening, Ash. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Greg?
Yeah, I'm all good. It feels like it's been a long week this week, but
Yeah,
we're getting through it. We've had a really good week this week. We've been interviewed on another podcast, which has been nice to be asked questions for a change rather than doing the question.
the other side of the camera.
The other side of the camera.
The other
yeah.
side of the mic.
Yes, yeah. So that podcast is coming out in the next few days, I think. I'm not entirely sure. And that is alongside as an interview for Paranormality Radio and Magazine, where we've been up for one of their awards. So yeah, some fun times the last week, and that was a great conversation that we had. Really enjoyed that, and like you say, it is nice to be the other side of the microphone and the other side of the video.
Yeah, definitely.
So, in the spirit, as it were, no pun intended, we've also been connecting this week with other podcasts, with similar kind of feel to them, paranormal, horror-based ones. And without further ado, we've got a couple of trailers of their podcast. So have a quick listen to this and check out their podcasts and their pages.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children, go to bed. Have you ever wondered who would win in a fight between a Mustang and a dinosaur?
Have the Black-Eyed Peas been knocking at your door?
Is the flying space rave keeping you up at night?
And why does everything have red eyes? And who the hell is Tommy Wiseau?
All this and more on the Salty Speculation podcast.
And I'm Nick. I'm the one that does all the work.
I'm Jay. As a Scotsman, I cover the cultural diversity aspect of the show.
New episodes every week.
You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at the Salty Speculation podcast.
Welcome to the podcast that discusses the things that are hidden in the shadows. This is Isaac.
And I'm Megan.
And on this podcast, we will discuss everything paranormal, from ghosts, demons, aliens, urban legends, and more.
From our own experiences and others, we will discuss the strange and unusual. Tune in every Friday for new episodes.
So yeah, there's some interesting trailers there. So check them out, guys. So what have you been up to, Ash?
Work. Work's been getting busy and busy, but our shelves are getting emptier and emptier.
Yeah.
It's getting a bit crazy.
Yeah, it's been mental. It's been mental. What else have you been getting up to?
Well, my fridge decided it needed to defrost itself without telling anybody. My fridge freezer.
Oh,
So
Christ.
earlier today we just had no food, and there was water in the kitchen and all that crap. So just before I needed to go to work myself, I had to sort out all that, and I have no food in the house because it's sort of melted and all defrosted.
Oh, Christ. And I don't know what the shelves are like in the shops up by you, but I went into Sainsbury's earlier and there's hardly anything on the shelves. There's no water.
Yeah, I work for a convenience brand,
Yeah.
and we are struggling to get the stock in,
Is it?
and I think it's just going to get worse.
I think it is.
A few
I think
weeks
it
at
is.
least.
I'm thinking about retraining as a lorry driver because apparently they're in short demand. So I can drive a 7.5 ton truck, so we're nearly there. So I'll be winging my way up north to Manchester and with some frozen bits for you.
Yeah, I need it.
So did you get the fridge freezer sorted?
Yeah, it seems to be working now. It's cold inside. There's no food in there.
I like the way you just looked round. People can't see that, but I can see on the video that you looked round, and all I can see in the background is a closed door.
I think the kitchen's nowhere near this room. It's like the other side of the building. So even if the door was open, you couldn't be able to see anything. I'm always looking behind me in this room. It's such a big room behind me.
It is. And one thing I was going to ask, have you had any kind of weird experiences recently in the building? Because I know when you first moved in, which is not that long ago, there was some weird sounds and shit happening. But
the only one we've had, actually, you remind me, I don't think I told you about this. It was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it's a really, really old house, and when someone's walking about because the way the floor creaks.
Yeah. So
when I live with my partner, and you can hear each other walking, you sort of know what rooms each person's in and when they're coming. And there's a long corridor between the lounge where I am now and the rest of the building, the rest of the apartment. And I was in the toilet doing my business, as you do.
Lovely.
And I knew my partner was in the bedroom, which is down the corridor.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear any footsteps creaking or anything. Next minute, door just rattles. Because the bathroom door, it's there's 2 frames. It's weird. It only goes in the first frame, but there's another frame behind it. Because just stuck a frame on top of another frame or something. It's a bit weird. But it's quite a tight fit. And it's never done it noise before. And it was someone had grabbed the handle and rattled the door. Because it was I lock it just by out of habit.
Yeah.
So it would have opened. I don't know because it was locked. Because I was looking down at my phone. Next minute, the door's going someone trying to get in the door. So I shouted at my partner, nothing. And I listened out for any creaking because you can hear creak. The kitchen's the next room. You can hear the floorboards in the kitchen. Then you can hear the floorboards in the corridor going towards the lounge in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Listened out, couldn't hear any other footsteps or creaking or anything. So I finished doing my stuff, and I go out and no partner's still in the bedroom, not moved. Window was shut. There wasn't any window or anything. It's just weird, random occurrence that's not happened since. Weird. Not happened before. Okay. It's just the door was rattling on its own a little bit.
How did that make you feel? Considering what we talk about on this podcast.
At first, I was I thought it was my partner, but then I was Cyril, are you back? Because that's the guy we know lived there 100 odd years ago.
Yeah.
And that's the guy who will say, when something happens, it's just Cyril. But we've not heard anything for ages. Like you said, nothing's happened since the first couple of weeks after we moved in. And then this, I was are you back, Cyril? Just sort of laughed it off. And I sort of forgot about it till just now, actually.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, apart from that, there's not been much going on.
Nice. Well, you have to keep me posted in case anything else happens.
Some cameras but maybe not in the bathroom, maybe outside the bathroom.
Yeah, well now because we talk about it all the time, you should be prepared for this moment.
Not as creeped out.
No.
As I would have been, I think, in the past.
It's funny that because before I went on my first ghost hunt, paranormal investigation, or whatever you want to call it, it was a ghost hunt. At that point, that was a Warwick Castle. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be so freaked out. And then after the first time, it's just I'm not that freaked out. And it's surprising how calm things can be once you sort of have that first kind of experience, or you go out somewhere, or something weird's happened to you. I think after that, everything else seems quite normal. And if it happens again, or strange things happen, it's not quite as freaky as you think it could be.
I know she doesn't feel threatening either. And the people we talk to, Jolie and other mediums, they feel they are just people, and they're not sort of trying to harm most of the time. It's just sharing the same space, and that's something that I believe now that I probably wouldn't have believed 12 months ago.
Do you think the the poltergeist cases that we've been talking about, do you think you'd be freaked out with some of that stuff happening? Because I get the impression that the atmosphere in those houses, it does feel quite scary.
Yeah, I think
But they seem to live with it. So can it be that bad? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like similar to movies when you hear them and like those stories that you think just leave the house, just get just pack a bag and just go. I feel think that's what I would do. Like if I'm lying in bed, next minute something's pulling me off the bed or something's flying across the room. I think that would be a different situation. I'd be like, right, I'm moving. I'm bringing mum, dad up. I'm coming home. Like,
because one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about the Battersea one last week was that at one point the girl, Shirley, she was actually seen to be levitating over the bed at one point. I forgot to mention that. I don't know. Or did I? No, I don't think I did mention that. Did. Yeah. So I think if I'd see something like that, that's like proper exorcist type stuff. No, I think I'd have to go. But those people stay in those houses. I mean, we've had some experiences in this house, and this is new build, and the house doesn't feel anything other than calm. So I don't know. On that note, though, I said last week about something that I've been involved with the paranormal group that I belong to.
Yeah.
And we talked about a particular family having a problem with some entity or something in their house, and the girl, or one of the girls in the house, has taken a load of selfies, and in the selfie was this shape and a person. So I'm still working on seeing if we can get that, but a little bit of progress is that in a couple of weeks time, sort of middle of next month time, actually going to visit the property for the first time and
Amazing.
Having a look around the place and spending a few hours with the family. So get to have an appreciation of what's actually happening. And I think it's a fairly new, it's not an old building, it's a fairly new-ish build. It's not an old house. So yeah, as I said, I'd give any progress updates. So
you're going to be doing like any experiments, or are you just going to sort of see?
Yeah. So the plan is beforehand, me and the group are going to have a Zoom call. Because obviously we all live different places and got family commitments and whatnot. So we can discuss what the plan of action is. But my thoughts initially would be we would get a feel for the place, get a feel for where things are happening, and maybe set up a few cameras and try a few different things. Nothing too major to begin with, because this could be like an ongoing sort of case that we work on with the family. So
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I think we'll take it easy to begin with, rather than going full Ghostbuster. But yeah, looking forward to that. It's going to be interesting. And again, I'll update once I've had the visit. Try and be as vague as I can, because obviously the people are still they're fairly local.
Yeah.
But so, and it's a current case, so it's not an old haunting or anything. It's actually happening as we speak. So yeah, so exciting times in terms of an active case. So it's not many times that we get an opportunity to do that. So that's all good.
Definitely.
And also next month, the week before Halloween, I'm going to the Ancient Ram Inn, which we've spoken about on previous podcasts. Yeah. It's supposedly one of the most haunted places in the UK. So I'll provide some updates there as well. So exciting times coming up.
Busy.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been super busy, both of us. And I know your UFO conference is nearly upon us.
Just over 2 weeks. Oh my God.
That's crazy. It feels like we've been talking about it for ages, but I know we haven't. But it feels like it sort of exploded.
It's mad because when it wasn't going to be a conference, it's going to be something else. It's like we only sort of started even thinking about it less than 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, from when it is to when we first said, "Oh, let's do this," it's like less than 2 months.
Yeah.
And the amount of stuff we've done, the amount of people that got involved, and the amount of tickets that we sold, it's just been insane. And now we've just got to have it run smooth on the day, which is it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it that we're finding out as we're getting closer to it. And yeah, they're just over 2 weeks away from that.
So what day is it again?
Saturday the 9th of October, and there's very, very few single figure tickets left now. So anybody thinking of coming, get your tickets ASAP.
Cool. Where can they get them from? Shameless plug for you.
UFOidentified.co.uk/minicon. Tickets are £15. That includes, so a 4-day event. You get your dinner, and there's a bar and tables and speakers and raffles and everything else going on.
Cool.
Cool.
And yeah, there's some good guests there as well. So everybody needs to get a ticket if they haven't already. Definitely. Well, that was a bit of a shameless plug for yourself there, Ash. Got to take. So this week, last week we had a bit of a rant that went on for quite a while.
Yeah, if they got through to the end of last week's episode.
Yeah, fucking honestly. So on that theme, we thought we would speak this week about misidentification. So there have been times over the history of paranormal and UFOs whereby things have been misidentified. They do get misidentified on a regular basis.
Yeah.
There's loads of photos that are up online where it's at night time, they're taking a photo outside their house, but they're taking it from inside, taking the photo of something outside, and the light is behind them, and more often than not it's a round light or a series of lights.
Down lights.
Yeah.
The most common
and it's clearly a reflection of the light in a dark window.
Yeah, so those downlights, generally seen in kitchens and stuff, they appear like a saucer shape in the window, because you only see the bottom half of the bulb.
Mm-hmm.
It's just curved shapes, and then when they're looking at the picture, it looks like there's these semi-circle type shapes in the sky. Absolutely.
And the thing is, the people, they see this with their own eyes, so they'll take a photo naturally, but then post it up without sort of checking what it is. And people will go on to the post and say, this is what it is, or did you take the photo inside? Some of them actually say no, they didn't take the photo inside. Clearly they did. So yeah, there is a lot of misidentification, whether that is deceptive misidentification, so people knowingly taking a fake photo. There's a lot of that. There's also a lot of people that take a photo and they genuinely don't know what it is. They put it up online. People will give advice, good and bad advice as to what it might be. Some of the paranormal pages that people have put a blurred close-up zoomed in photo, which is the worst kind of photo, because if you zoom in on your phone, generally that's what people have taken a photo on, as soon as it gets to 2 times zoom, it goes digital and it just blows up the pixels, which makes identification almost impossible. So there's lots of photos where people put stuff up and you can't even see what it is, let alone what it should be. So yeah, we thought we'd take a little delve into misidentification. And there's one case that I know when I was growing up, because I'm a little bit older than you, Ash, I remember this being talked about on programs like Arthur C. Clarke's World of Mysteries, one of the programs that got me into this subject. And it's not long been sort of identified, if that's the right way of saying it.
Yeah, it's a famous one. And like you, when I was just getting into the topic in my early teens, I'd get books out, and it's always in like every book you got out. This photograph was in the book, whether it's a UFO book or Mysterious World book. This photo always cropped up.
Yeah.
It's always one of them that I think a lot of people have seen.
Yeah.
It's the Solway Firth Spaceman photo.
Yes.
Which is the photo itself is a little girl, and then behind the little girl on a field, it looks like a classic spaceman in a spacesuit.
Yeah.
Stood behind with the visor on his helmet, and I think that was took in Cumbria at Solway Firth. So it's an English photo in 1964.
Yep.
So it's been going on for 60 years nearly. But this photo has been been going around. Like you say, that's been a recent explanation. That's like more of not an official one, but like a well-known person that's sort of come out. Even then, people still don't believe that that's what it is.
Yeah.
And some people just like to have these classic cases and keep them being unidentified or unusual, being something else than what it is. But even without the kind of official explanation, which was by David Clarke, who did a lot of work for the National Archives with the the UK government UFO files, and it's quite a respected author and stuff. But even without that, like I say, official explanation, it just looks like a person stood there.
Yeah. Yeah. So they claimed that he took the photo and didn't see a figure in the photo until after the photographs were developed. So this is in the days before digital photography, so you wouldn't. So people who are not old enough to remember this, back in the day before iPhones and such, like, you'd take your photo and then you'd have to take the film. You'd get like 24, maybe 36 photographs off a particular roll of film, and you'd take the film out, you'd send it off to like Boots or somewhere, Kodak directly, and then you'd pay like £5, which back then was like a tenner, and then you'd have to wait a week, and then you'd get the photos back, and if any of the photos are crap, then they'd put a little sticker on saying you've overexposed this photo, or you've underexposed it. Not that you had any choice, it just point and click a lot of the time.
Yeah, because you wouldn't see what you took a photo of until
no, that's it. There was
until weeks later.
You had a tiny little glass viewfinder if you were lucky, that magnified. If you weren't lucky, it was just a blank like hole in the camera. That's the ones that I used to have. So you had no idea what you were capturing. So he gets this back, and I don't know how long it was after he took it, but the gentleman says that he doesn't remember anybody being behind his door at the time.
Yeah, which, what, like I say, can just be the passage of time, because especially then, like, you wouldn't get it developed straight away. See how, like, you only took 12 photos and there's 12 left on the roll, you'd wait until you use some 12 photos up.
Yeah.
So it might be like another trip in a couple of months' time before you use that roll up.
Yeah,
you don't want to waste the money on developing half a roll or just clicking at nothing just for the sake of it. And so it could have been a while before he got them developed. And he just didn't realise that, in this case, the mum was stuck behind the girl.
Yes.
So it's either that, or he sort of thought, oh, this is interesting. And because it got publicity, he's just stuck with there was no one there.
Yeah. So when you look at the photo, and the photo is going to be our little image for the episode this week, you can see, like you said right at the start, it looks like typical spaceman type outfit. They've gone silver suit with a helmet on and whatnot, but it looks, initially the thought was that it's facing you, so the silver visor is facing sort of the camera, as it were, and the back of the door. But the more you look at it, and over time people have said, no, actually, it looks like the object or the person or whatever it is facing away, and you can see the bend of the elbow, which would be a right elbow as she's facing away. It makes more sense that it's somebody facing away, and it's actually their hair that's the visor.
Yeah, you can see the shoulder blades on the back and stuff, where obviously it's got around bent.
Yeah,
and it's clearly a person stood facing away.
So it's never been claimed it's a fake photo. It's definitely a photo.
Yeah, the photo was a genuine photo.
Yeah, it's just the fact that what did he capture in that photograph? In my mind, the identification that it's the mum.
In the other photos that are public now, there's other pictures from the same day.
Yeah,
and the mum's in the pictures, and she's wearing the same clothes as in this picture. So it's just there's no question that it's her. No,
absolutely. But I do remember growing up that this particular one was one of those ones that just puzzled people. It was just like, what is it? This is such a crazy photograph. And it was the time before Photoshop and all that kind of stuff. So there was no question, really, there was a fake photo. And it isn't a fake photo, it's just a misidentified photo. So, yeah, that's a really good one. I do love that picture. I grew up looking at that picture, and that was part of the paranormal stuff that used to see on TV programs, in books, like you mentioned. So
yeah, it's one of them pictures that it's like I literally just came into my head right now, from not even far away from where this was taken, the Ilkley Moor photos, and always seemed to crop up in the books and stuff, was that were like sort of an unknown something, creature, whatever, in a photograph. And again, I think that was in the 80s, the Ilkley Moor. The Ilkley Moor alien, as it's called.
Yes, I remember that one. Ilkley Moor. Yes, there was loads of photographs growing up where a lot of stuff was identified, misidentified, that kind of thing. And I think maybe that was sort of the times when it was sort of like people were into spaceships, people were into, or just starting to get into the paranormal. Hollywood was glamorizing it with E.T. and those kind of things. So people were wanting to see things like that. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, so that is a good one. It would be interesting to see what people think to the spaceman, because it is the mum. It's been identified as, or it would appear to be the mum, but it is such a good photo. It would be good to see what other people make of it. So let us know.
And again, and again, like other cases, whether it's real or whether it's something simple, it's a part of the history of like ufology in this country, especially. Yes. Whether it was a balloon, doesn't matter anymore. It's what's created after that.
Yeah,
and it sort of set the foundations for everything that came after.
Yes.
Similar with this, it's part of the history, so what it is isn't actually that important anymore. It's, like I say, it's what came after.
Yeah.
For the subject, like as a whole.
I think that will be the same. You like Rendlesham Forest is another one. Yeah. I think the Tic Tac UFO, that will be another moment in history, UFO history, where people go, after that date things started to change.
Yeah,
things were seen differently after that. And you've got the UAP reports, all this stuff ramping up. It's in the press all the time. It's not a subject that's sort of looked down upon anymore. It's kind of taken really seriously.
Like in 20, 30 years, whether like the Tic Tac, the gimbal was a balloon, was glitches on the radar, whatever, if it was found to be something that was explainable. Like you say, it kicked off everything that's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look back at this time in 20 years, it'd be this started in 2017 when these videos were leaked. It doesn't matter what the videos are.
Mm-hmm.
It's what happened afterwards. It's just a part of the bigger picture of furthering and just being, like I say, being more open and accepting of the governments and task forces and just taking it more seriously.
Absolutely. Which brings us on to some other photos that we've seen. So one that I've seen that has a rational explanation, which gets misidentified a lot, are festival searchlights.
Yeah.
They're on the ground, they light up the clouded sky, and on the cloud itself, on the bottom of the cloud, people will see like a ring of lights that are either moving across the sky slowly or fast or spinning. And there's lots of photos and examples of that up on social media, on the internet. And generally you can find out quite quickly what it is and identify it fairly quickly when people say, yeah, I'm at, I don't know. So local to me, there was on social media, it said, what are those weird lights in the sky? Like a circle of lights in the sky. And I'm straight on it and saying it's the Crop Ready Festival, or Cornbury Festival as it was in this particular case. So just down the road from us, Cornbury Music Festival takes place, and they had searchlights there up into sky. I could see them from my back garden, and it's 10 miles away or so, I suppose. But people see what they want to see without investigating what it is first. And I think that's the problem with social media now, is that people can take a photo on their phone and within seconds it's up on the internet and they're going, oh my god, I've seen this, can everybody else see it? And people say, yeah, I can see it, don't know what it is. And then a few people will try and explain it, and it either gets identified quite quickly and the person goes, oh yeah, that makes sense, or they go, stop being a hater, it's paranormal, it's UFO and whatnot. So I think now is even more of a, so back with the Solway Firth Spaceman, people were trying to identify it and couldn't. There was no way of photoshopping or whatnot back then, really. But now everybody can Photoshop, pretty much. It's easy to put a filter on things, all that kind of stuff, and it's very easy to misidentify a photograph or see stuff that isn't there.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people need to be wary of when they take a photo, is that they give the full image. We see on certain Facebook pages, people will put a cropped image on there, it's zoomed in massively, and there's a circle around an object. That's not a very good way of showing somebody a photograph, because you're almost saying, can you see what I can see?
Yep, they're telling you what they're seeing.
They're saying, look at this circled bit, can you see this shape that I can see? And then your brain will automatically go, yeah, I can see that shape, or yeah, it looks like a figure, or yeah, there's definitely something looking at you, I can see eyes on it. And it's just like,
it's like confirmation bias, where
yes, absolutely is.
And like say, brain's looking for patterns, and so if someone says this looks like a person, and then circles around a figure like whatever, like figure like bush in a tree, then your brain's looking for a person already, because you've been told to look for a person, and you're told that to look, so you are going to recognize that looks like a person in the tree, but it's literally just bushes.
Absolutely. And there's all manner of examples of that on lots of the sort of paranormal and UFO pages, even on the Bigfoot pages, all sorts of pages, people going, can you see what I'm seeing, this bit in the circle? And you more than likely can. There was an interesting one that came up this week, and it was an infrared camera had taken a photo. Oh, so like a Ring doorbell thing. Somebody got it in their house. It was middle of the night. Somebody has walked past the camera. It's clear to see.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
And then there's like a shadow on the wall. And somebody said, well, it can't be a shadow because it's the middle of the night. And then somebody else put, well, I can see the shadow. The shadow was clear to see, to be fair. I said, the shadow people can make themselves seen even in pitch black. And I'm like, I put a comment up and said, an infrared camera can still, if you've got an infrared light pointing behind a subject in front of an infrared camera, it will still project a shadow. It's just that the infrared can pick it up and your normal eyes can't. We see it all the time when we do paranormal investigations, or you're out at night, or like we've been at Castle Ring, all those kind of places. You shine an infrared light on an object, it will create its own shadow. It will essentially be an infrared kind of shadow.
Yeah, of course.
So it's people's trying to educate people on how light works at night or how cameras work. So I can understand why somebody has said, look, it's pitch black, how can I see a shadow in the pitch black? That's just how cameras work. So yes, not so much of a rant this week, but but it is a lot of misidentification can happen when people just don't really know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And the internet is a great way of putting your photo up and people either agreeing with you, confirmation bias.
Yeah.
And people love nothing more than to have their photo liked. That's just how we are as a society. If somebody's saying, oh, that's a great photo, that makes you feel good.
Yeah, and you'd see that in the comments, like someone would post, for example, lens flare, and there'd be 10 replies or 10 comments, and 5 of them are saying it's lens flare, and 5 are saying, wow, great capture. And the person who's posted it will only reply to those that have said, great capture, you've caught a UFO, I see these every day, blah, blah, blah. They won't reply to the ones that are telling you what it is, because they don't want to hear that. They only want to be told that they've caught a UFO.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, and people get very defensive when it's challenged that it's something normal and not paranormal. So the lens flare is a classic one, and people going, I saw it with my own eyes, and I know we discussed this last week. It's like
that's when I ran, when people are lying, blatantly lying.
Yeah, because they didn't see it with their own eyes. It's like there's actually a video clip. It's another classic one where it's been misidentified completely. So somebody's filming at night, a light source in front of them, a bonfire, and they move the camera from left to right. As they do so, this object, which appears to be like a deer or something like that, made up of flames, goes past the campfire. And they say, we didn't see anything at the time, but it's definitely something there. And people going, yeah, it looks like a devil, or it looks like all this. I'm like, well, if you didn't see it at the time, why does it follow the exact movements of the camera if you didn't see it? And I go, it's the flame. It's a reflection of the flame, and as you move past, it moves exactly the same rate as you moving. But like you say, people put stuff up in these particular groups because they want that confirmation that it is what they either genuinely believe, or they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes.
Get a bit of notoriety or popularity or whatever.
Let's get viral.
Did I mention last week the guy that I didn't argue with him, but I was respectful, because I always am, until they start lying to my face. Where he started the post with, hi, I am name. The guy whose picture went viral of a triangle large triangle UFO.
Right.
And you look at the picture, and it's like we said, it's a reflection of something in the room that is in.
Oh yeah, I remember we did talk about it. So yeah, I
Um,
remember this.
And he says he's outside. I'm like, no, you weren't. And the image of the triangular craft, which is more like a boomerang than a triangle in the sky, there's very, very similar looking objects in the bottom half of the picture, which is like below a fence, so it's like more on the floor, which he just completely ignores. He only talks about as one in the sky. So I was pointing, I tried to say the picture and I circled all the other ones, as well as the one that's a triangle UFO. So like, well, what are these then? If this is outside, look at the picture, what are these? They look exactly the same as the UFO in the sky, but it's on the floor. Like, it would be about fucking 2 inches wide if it's like a real thing. You know, complete knows it, start getting called me, hit the bunker. I'm such an expert, he's used to the trolls attacking him for his photograph that everyone else wants to see. Then someone else in the comments like inverted the colours and said, "Oh, you can definitely see it's like a solid craft." But again, in the bottom corner, the small ones look exactly the same as the one in the top corner. And it's like clearly a reflection in the window.
Mm-hmm.
But he just, next minute, I'm blocked from talking to him. And I can't see the picture anymore because he's just blocked me from seeing his thing. It's just like, it makes me look like an idiot. You can't address that part of the picture and not the bottom half.
Yeah. I think nowadays there's so many people that are subject experts, so people who are aware of how cameras work, how reflections work, that kind of thing. So when they put a picture up, and somebody puts a picture up that they don't know what they're looking at, I'm cool with the fact that people go, oh yeah, it is likely to be a reflection then, or it could be a lens flare. Didn't think about that, didn't see it at the time, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's when the people are clearly lying about the whole thing, saying that they saw it with their own eyes. There's one that we were discussing last week that was in London, and I think it was London, and there's the light source in the bottom left hand corner and the lens flare or reflection of light in the top right. And the way cameras work is that the opposite quadrant of the photo of where the light source is, it will be exactly mirrored in that particular quadrant. With the lens flare. And that one, as you quite rightly mentioned last week, it was posted somewhere else and they cropped out the light source. And it's just like, at that point, it's not a misidentification. Well, it is a misidentification, but it's
trying to see
purpose. Yes, deception.
It's like 95, like with UFOs, like 95% of them are misidentifications.
Yes.
Someone's reported something, I didn't know what it was. 95% of the time, whoever's investigating it or whatever can identify it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the vast majority will be misidentifications. But obviously, 5% of them aren't identified, and that's the ones that remain UFO. Which seems like, especially with social media, like you say, the likes, people want to go viral. I think I mentioned it last week about the couple that wanted to started a GoFundMe page because they took a photo of Venus.
Yeah.
Again, Venus is another one that gets certain times of the year when it's particularly bright or low on the, especially when it's low on the horizon. Because when objects are low on the horizon, and you can see this when the moon's quite low, they appear bigger.
Same with the sunset. When the sun's starting to go down, it looks a lot bigger when it's near the horizon.
Yeah, and that's purely because you have points of reference. It's exactly the same size it is when you see it in the sky and it's up above you. But because there's points of reference like buildings or whatever, it just appears bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But the effect the horizon has makes it appear bigger. And also the scintillation from stars is more pronounced when it's stars low on the horizon. So when like Sirius or the other big stars are low on the horizon, they'll sparkle, they change different colours, they can appear to change size or appear to move just because you're looking at it through all different layers of atmosphere, and the light is just being refracted and sent off in different directions when it gets to your eye.
Yeah.
So it looks like, oh, there's a light and it was moving and it was changing colours. yeah, it was a star, but it just looks mad, and you can see why people think it is something weird. But like, say you get a star app on your phone that tells you what's in the sky.
Yeah.
I'll be like, it'll be there tomorrow. Look again, same time. It'll be there. Download the app and it'll tell you it's the star. Or when it's Venus or Jupiter, because they don't twinkle. Because the planets don't twinkle, only stars do.
Correct.
But like Venus and Jupiter, especially like them in the lower, when they're just particularly bright, like April time, I think Venus is particularly bright. And a lot of reports come in of Venus.
Yeah.
Because she's called the Queen of UFOs. The planet Venus is called the Queen of UFOs because hundreds of years there's records of like ship captains and all sorts that have reported seeing this strange light, and it's Venus.
Yeah, the Venus comes up a lot, and I know people, well, especially when it's low down, and people say, "Well, it was moving." Yeah, it probably was, because the rotation of the Earth will make it look like it's moving, and they go, but it wasn't moving very fast. Yeah, it probably wasn't, because you'd be surprised actually how fast stuff moves, but it looks like it's hovering and just moving across, I suppose, to some people.
When people say we're being followed in the car by a UFO, like it'd be Venus. It'll always be there. If you're driving down the motorway, or you need to turn around different directions, it will still be there. And like I say, we like the impression that this light is following you, but it is Venus.
It's funny, because I was just thinking then that considering our interest in both paranormal and UFO, considering we would love nothing more than everything to be real, we actually get rid of a lot and debunk a lot of stuff.
You get abused for it.
And I've put it up there before. I said I would love nothing more than this to be a genuine photo. Yeah. But unless you can rule out everything else, if you can rule out everything else, whatever you're left with, no matter how improbable, that's the answer. I think Sherlock Holmes or somebody random said something like that. And it's just like, yeah, but you need to rule out those things. And people don't want to rule them out, because that takes away from the viral aspect of culture today.
Yeah. Like people say to me, like, oh, you're a debunker. Why are you in these groups if you don't believe? I'm like, don't believe. It's like, not to like, I don't know, toot your own horn or anything, but the amount of hours every day that like you and me that we're putting into this, like the website, investigations, the research, the putting on conferences, the hours that people think, oh, why are you in this group? You don't believe. It's like I say,
don't believe anymore.
Yeah, I do believe. I won't do it otherwise. But like I say, I love it. That lens flare was seen by the naked eye. There was no light source. It was an actual thing. I'd be driving there, talking to the witness.
Yeah,
everything, because I'd want it to be a genuine
photo. There was that photograph of that little alien. Do you remember, round by you?
Oh yeah, that
went viral. So you actually went out there to investigate it.
Yeah, clearly a cardboard cutout.
Yes,
it's literally 10-minute drive from my house, so I'm gonna go on that 0.11% that it is something.
Yeah.
Like, because if it is something, then it's a game changer.
Absolutely. Like you say, people just think we're in some of the groups to debunk everything, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to rule out all the normal stuff it could be.
It's just the investigation process.
Yeah, and I think it's healthy to have skepticism like that. In the paranormal field, it's rife with people saying stuff that's happening that isn't happening. Like, I've seen Facebook lives from certain groups, for example, where there's some orbs floating around in this room where people are, and they're encouraging people to like send stars. I don't really understand it, but on Facebook you can like send Facebook money or stars to those groups to support them, and they're saying, oh, I think it's for somebody here, and they'll name a particular person, and they'll say, because that person's just chucked in a load of money, and they say, yes, I can see it was for you, and then this person going, oh, I better give more money, and it's just like, oh, it just doesn't help the group. And by group I mean the paranormal group as a whole. Same with UFOs. People are putting up very bad CGI footage of big spacecrafts going over. I saw one the other day, and there was this spacecraft coming out of the clouds, this huge thing. There's people driving on the road and walking, and not a single one of those cars stopped. Not a single one of the people looked up at this thing that had
Independence Day style.
Yes,
craft appearing.
It's like taking over the whole city in size. I'm like, it just doesn't help us progress the movement. We've come so far, and the UAP report, the Tic Tac, those kind of things, the recent stuff, and these gimbal videos and whatnot, they're pushing the boundaries and progressing the subject. And there's a lot that isn't, and these people just seem to spew it out a lot of the time.
An example of like how bad some of the people in these groups can be is, I think you saw me comment on it. I think you liked my comment, and it was one of them, obviously videos like that where there's this big like mothership or something coming out and appearing, and there's a being coming down or whatever, and it says in the title, like in the caption for the video, CGI. So like he literally said, the person who posted it said like this is a CGI, this is a CGI video, but people in the comments are still like believing that it's a real video.
Yeah,
it's like it literally says CGI on the video, but that's just something like shows how people will just believe anything.
Yeah,
because they want to believe that badly.
I saw one. It was over Chicago. I think it was yesterday. A UFO over Chicago. It was, to me, definitely looked like it wasn't real. It was like a CGI type thing. And one of the comments quite rightly put, if this was over in daylight over Chicago, why is there not hundreds and hundreds of people witnessing this thing? Why? because that kind of,
the same, because if it was remember the Goodyear blimp UFO from last year or earlier this year? Where people were stopped on the highway. People stopped, the cars were stopped, they got out the cars, they were all looking at this, what people say was a UFO. But obviously it was the Goodyear blimp, which is, again, that's why people still don't believe it's a Goodyear blimp, even though you can see the screen and the writing on the picture, and you can go on the map and like on the Goodyear website, and the Goodyear blimp was there at that time. But people still won't believe that. But like, there's an example of people, they had stopped because they saw something weird, which is fair enough. And they were recording it, people were videoing it, people were looking. Like, say, something like that had happened like in Chicago in these CGI videos, there'd be hundreds of people doing that. If something was that big and that obviously non-human or whatever above the heads. It's just, I mean, I understand why. Like, I don't really want to go too much into hoaxes on this episode, because we're talking about misidentifications rather than hoaxes. But there's a number of reasons why people do hoaxes, and one of them is just to be creative. It's like painting. You're just painting an image. You're creating a painting basically in the form of a video or in the form of a photo. Not necessarily meant to deceive. It's just you're making a drawing, but then someone else took it and then said that it's a real video. Like, there's a video that's last couple of years where it looks like ball lightning sort of going across the railway track.
Okay.
And that was posted. That got millions of views of this ball lightning caption on video, but it was from some university's like graphic design course or students or whatever. But like, even then, people still repost this video of ball lightning crossing this road. Just so happened to be caught on camera, but again, it's just a university students, not study, but coursework or whatever, that someone's then took and said it's a real video, and it went viral, getting millions and millions of views.
It's I think it's quite a crazy time, because technology is quite cheap now to do all this kind of stuff. And like you say, I don't want to go down the hoax route, but the misidentification, I think people need to understand how equipment works so they can rule out normal stuff. So I've took some photos recently of my daughter on a horse, and behind her is the sun, and I purposely took a photo of her with the sun behind her, with the sun pointing directly into the camera, so I could create the lens flare, the orb that people see.
I did that last year with Venus, because it's like the bokeh effect when you zoom in on a point of light with a phone, or well, with most cameras really, but like I say, majority of cameras, especially definitely phone cameras, when they're zooming in, when it's just a point of light in the sky, so you might see, it might not be Venus, it might be a light that's behaving weirdly in the sky. As soon as you try and zoom in on it, like, the phone cannot focus because it's too far away. It's literally just a pinprick of light, and the phone can't focus. And different phones, different cameras have different effects that come off it, but the common one you see with mobile phones is the circle, pulsating rings that look like, and it looks crazy if you don't know what you're looking at and you're zooming in and you see the effect, you think you have caught some UFO video. And countless times I've seen it in newspapers, online newspapers, and they do an article, and there's one a couple of weeks ago in Glasgow, a couple of lads filmed one in Glasgow, and it's just like a planet out of focus basically. It's like getting onto national or like local newspapers, because I did the same where when Venus was bright at the beginning of the year, I went out and I took some selfies with Venus, and then I created that exact same effect. I zoomed in on my phone and took the pictures, and was like, I've just took these pictures. It's not a UFO, it's Venus. Go out yourself now, zoom in on your phone, and you'll see the exact same thing. And people comment like, these are being seen all over the world, it's the Palladian ships. It's like, just fuck off, like.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So when you actually give the evidence of what it is, and it's still denied or misidentified.
They set up a GoFundMe page for £1,000 so they can take more pictures of it.
We had that one. So there's a couple of other ones I quickly want to touch on. So there was the guy that filmed it looked like a three-pronged ship that slowly disappeared over the horizon, like a UFO. It was in all the national newspapers, and it turned out it was the sun going behind some cloud.
Yeah. Oh, the one down in Cornwall.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's the moon one. The moon was bright.
Yeah. So you can see why people misidentify stuff, because it's not what you normally see. And then there was the other one whereby we actually put it up on our page, didn't we? The photograph of a long exposure of a plane, sort of London area, and we put it up and said we know what it is. We even said it was a plane in the comments, and people, that particular one went pretty viral as well.
Everyone was sharing it.
Tens of thousands of people involved in like I say, sharing it. There's comments all over the place. People saying it's TR3B, and which I know is your favourite term. People saying it's all sorts of things, and we'd said no, it is actually a plane. It is a plane. And then I put a photo up. I live right next to the UK's biggest military air base now, Bryce Norton, and I literally live in the flight path of all the planes, so I see planes going in 24 hours a day. And I've taken loads of long exposure photographs, 15 seconds, 20-second exposures of planes as they're circling on their approach, and you can, where the light flashes every few seconds as the plane's moving, and with the long exposure it creates like a train track effect. And I put that up in one of the comments, and this guy didn't believe me. He said, how do you know that's a plane? I said, I took the photo to prove a point that this is what it is. It's a 15-second delay. 15-second exposure time, and I give all the EXIF data for the photograph, and this guy still didn't believe me. I'm like, I know it's a plane because I took the photo, and it's like, I've only got your word for that. I'm like, okay. But I've asked people on certain groups for the original photo, because you can see from a photo, a lot of cameras, phone cameras, digital cameras, they will actually keep sort of the metadata and all the information of the photograph. It will tell you where it was taken, when it was taken, what camera it was taken on. It will normally tell you what the focal point was, what the exposure was, so like 10 seconds or a third of a second, a quarter of a second or whatever. And that kind of data is great for investigating what the photo might be. Because you take a photo at night with your mobile phone, it will be likely to have a long exposure, and by long exposure it might only be a second, but you take a photo of Venus at night on a mobile phone and it's pitch black everywhere else, it's potentially going to move a little bit, and it will have a little squiggle, or because and the person will say, I didn't move, the camera was completely still. It's like, yeah, but for a second it probably wasn't. Those kind of things, and it's that causes a lot of misidentification, is people not understanding the equipment. So
if you were advising someone who just saw something or wanted to set it up, so if they saw something, and want to take a picture of it, what would your do's and don'ts be using a mobile or digital camera?
Mobile phone is likely what people are going to be taking a photo on, I imagine. I would by all means take a photo of it zoomed in, but take a photo of it zoomed out with no zoom whatsoever, because as soon as it goes to digital zoom, the picture's ruined. By zooming right out, you also get a frame of reference where it was. Some people put a picture up of this light, and it could literally be anywhere. So if you can get a point of reference of where the horizon is, maybe an object, a known height object like a building in there as well. So at least you can get a sense of where this object was, what time it was, so keep a note of that, which your phone will tell you that. And also potentially you would need to know exactly where, because at that point, if you knew exactly where it was, you could go on Google Street View, you could see which direction they were facing, and it's very easy to get the star charts for that particular location at that particular time. And if you know which direction they're looking at, you'd be able to rule out straight away whether it was a planet, a star, that kind of thing. So my main do's and don'ts are keep it zoomed out, get that frame of reference, get something in there that will confirm where it was in the sky. I think that's a key one. And take the photo outside. As soon as you take a photo inside, you've got to be putting reflections in there, in my mind. If you can say that I was standing outside, I would even take multiple photos. So on cameras now, you can take video, you can hold your finger down on an iPhone and take multiple photos. So you can take 20, 30 photos, do all of that, take as much evidence as you can. It might only see it for a few seconds, but in that few seconds you can take a few different photos. That would be my sort of wish list of what people should do. What about you?
I think the same, and also just avoid getting any bright lights in the picture.
Yeah.
So one, stop lens flare.
Yeah.
And two, also like bright sunlight can damage internal parts of the camera.
Yeah.
And cause black spots and stuff as well.
Yes.
Just avoid like directly take a picture of the sun and stuff like that.
What I would also say to people is, if you're going to put the photograph up on a social media platform, ask people what they see rather than suggesting to people what you see. And I think you'd probably get 2 different responses to that question.
Yeah, definitely.
Like we mentioned right at the start, if you're suggesting what it could be, chances are people are going to agree with what they think they're seeing. Same with EVPs in the paranormal world from a digital voice recorder. You might say, "Oh, did you just hear that say hello?" You go, "Yeah, it does sound like hello." But if you play it to somebody else and don't tell them what the word is, it might not get quite as positive of a response. And it's all about getting an objective view on everything. And the other important bit actually with a photograph is to be open to what it could be, not just what you think it is. And don't get defensive.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound like the last week, don't sound like we're belittling anyone or.
Yeah.
So we are engulfed in the subjects. And
Yes, we are.
The amount of stuff that I've learned, that we've both learned. I always still talk about broken camera artifacts, and I didn't know any of this 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Now I'd probably been the same if I was taking a picture. But it's just about keeping open minds, and that means both what could be there and what isn't there. That it isn't unusual, it is something. That's where, for Mickey mentioned about EVPs, that's not a bad point actually, because misidentification just isn't photos, it's videos, it's EVP stuff. And I've watched like these documentaries where they're playing back an EVP and the subtitles like saying it before you even hear it. So it's already implanted in your head that word's there. Yeah. And so you're going to hear that word regardless. It's like them viral videos like last couple of years or so where whatever word you're thinking of is the word that you hear, but it's the same word being said, it's the same clip. But if you're thinking like orange, it sounds like it says orange. If you're thinking trainer, it sounds like it says trainer, because just you've got the implant in your head already. Yeah. So like you said, Greg, if you're posting a video, a photo, an EVP recording anything, don't tell people what you think it is. Just let people tell you, because you're going to get a much more subjective answer than an objective one that you want to hear, or that you, like say, confirmation bias. Yes. And and the more you get people telling you that's what it is, the more you're going to believe it, and the more you're going to then share it and then get defensive once other people start saying it's not that, it's this. Yeah. And with the evidence or that they're showing. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And on that note, if you do have any photographs that you want us to have a look at, or EVPs, or EVP, but on a serious note, everything we've just mentioned there is a great way of getting people to give their opinion rather than confirming your opinion. And I think that's the key, like you've just said. You want people to tell you what you think what they think it is, not what you confirm what you think it is. So yeah, I think that covers off the subject of misidentification. And like we said, just at the end there, it doesn't have to be a photograph, it can be video, it can be sound, it can be all sorts. It's just about trying to rule out everything that it could be, and then if you've ruled out everything and you still can't figure out what it is, at that point, that's when it becomes an even more interesting piece of evidence. And especially if you've taken a photo of an object and multiple people have taken it from multiple angles. Again, that's all the kind of stuff that backs up and provides additional evidence. So I think that's a good place to end that there before. And we didn't even go on a rant.
No, we didn't really. No, we didn't.
Yeah, we behaved.
We did. And I know last week, like you just said, we weren't trying to belittle people or anything like that. It's just we want nothing more than to believe these photographs. But the heart is saying one thing, but the head is saying another thing. And you get to a point where you've ruled out everything that your head says it could be, and then you get into the place where the heart's going, actually, this could be the Holy Grail right now. So,
like with your upcoming investigation,
yeah,
what it could be. That's what we're in it for. What it could be.
What it could be. Yeah, definitely. I would love it to be paranormal, but it could be something completely normal. And like we mentioned, that we've both invested a lot of time, effort, energy into these subjects, and we talk about all these different, like we talk about people having portals opening up on their ranch, and we're open to that idea, so it's not that we're closed-minded to any of that.
Yeah, definitely.
I watched the Ghost Adventures episode again the other day of Stardust Ranch, and it still amazes me, and I'm just like, shit, this is some proper crazy stuff. And we've spoken to the guy, and so then for people to say that we're just trolling and stuff, we're absolutely not. We are open to this kind of stuff. We want nothing more than it to be real, but we have to be realistic about the whole thing. So
yeah, I mean, and also I think this shows like that we don't just believe all that, because a lot of these videos, like these images, they get a lot of clicks, get a lot of views, get a lot of shares. And there's certain websites, there's certain YouTube channels, I won't mention them, Scroll Team 10, won't mention them, Third Phase of Moon, and they put up clearly fake videos and stuff, because people will click, people will share it, because like the people that we talked about, they'll just believe anything because they want to believe so much. Yes. So people like Scroll Team 10, Third Phase of Moon, UFO sightings footage website, these are all known fake websites, fake channels, fake videos, but they get billions of clicks. And that's why they do it, because they're getting the clicks, they're getting the advertising, they're getting the money. Yeah. And like, I think it's testament to us and other shows that we sort of get in communication with, people that we talk to, people that we network with. It's the genuine investigation into it, not we do it for the love of it, we do it because we want to find something. Yeah. And not for the clicks or the likes or the adverts that can get put on.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, that's bang on. There's so many people out there trying to put out good content without it having to go viral for misrepresenting what's actually happening. We speak to loads of people. We will be speaking to loads of people. So yeah, it's a difficult subject because the science behind it isn't quite there yet. In terms of mainstream science doesn't really accept the paranormal, the UFOs. There is a shift in that, absolutely, but that's going to take time to get people on board. So yeah, it's all about clicks a lot of the time at the moment, and monetization. So yeah, and that does skew people. So cool. Okay, Ash, well, I think we'll leave that there for this episode.
We could go on for hours.
It's
like 1 a.m. or something now.
It is 1 a.m. Right now, I just looked up at the clock. Yeah, I've got to be at work in 7 hours. So yeah, thanks for joining us again. If you have any subjects you want us to cover, let us know. If you've got any photographs, video that you would like us to look at, by all means ping it over. If you've got any experiences or accounts of stuff that's happened to you that you would like to share, send them to us.
And there's a week left for you to vote for us in the Paranormality Magazine Podcast Awards. So get the link in the. We don't want subscriptions. We don't want advertising money. We want to win that award. So click that link and vote for us. We've got a week left.
I got my mum to vote in the end.
Good.
Absolute shambles. But yeah, we got there in the end. So I'm hoping my wife's going to vote this week.
Right, daughters.
They're not that interested. They're not that interested. So I've sent it over to my wife and said, please just make sure you vote. Just vote for me, please. That's all I ask. So, yeah. So, yeah, keep on showing the love, guys. We get loads of comments on posts we put up. So, yeah, keep on interacting with us. We enjoy seeing all the comments and the messages. So, until next time.
Yep, see you next week.
We bid you goodbye.
Welcome to the worst nightmare of all. Reality.
Explore the lesser-known stories of our unknown world. Join the pursuit of the paranormal with Ash and Greg.